Hey everyone, welcome back to Lamson Family Farms. Hope you can hear me over the goats. Just checked on them, they're very excited. Um, Even though they have everything that they could ever want and need in life, they're still very loud. They're Nubians. So, just wanted to give a quick update about the goat maternity ward. Thanks for coming along. Okay, so I've got all of these gates done. I need to buy latches for them, but all the doors are up. I need to move this cabinet for the milking stanchion, and then I can work on that last gate. That's going to be just a gate. It won't be a Dutch door style. I just don't want to do it for that side. I don't really think I'm going to need it too much over there because there will be larger animals in that area. So only these 3 stalls are Dutch doors. I really like how they turned out with the red of the barnwood. I tried not to get it to be too matchy, but I ended up getting I ended up buying more hinges, so they all match, and I think it looks really cute. I'm planning on painting the middle portions of each gate where the plywood is. I'm going to probably paint that white, but I'm going to leave the trim as what it is now. So I'm trying to figure out what kind of latches I want. I really don't know. I might just need to go to the hardware store and see what my options are and what would be the best fit for it. I ended up getting really frustrated with this yesterday because I had started over here on the right side on that board that's along the wall, and as you can see by the gap that's bigger on the top than the bottom, that is not square. And so I had originally wanted the gate to swing this way, and so I had mounted the hinges from that wall and got really frustrated because I couldn't get the gates level. So once I figured out that I really needed to not be mounting the hinges on that wall, it went a lot better. I had to take a break and just think about it, but I ended up just mounting the hinges on this support because I knew that was square because I had put that in. Whereas this board, I had just got it flush to the wall. So once I did that, once I got this gate done, these 2 gates went a lot quicker. So lesson learned, start with something that's square and you'll make your life a lot easier. But I do think I am going to go back and like this gate, you can see the bottom is kind of swinging out and there's a little bit more of a gap in between the 2 gates than these 2 sets. And it's fine, and I don't really think it's going to make a huge difference once I have latches on. But right now when you try to open the top, the bottom gets caught, and it's just enough of a little bit of an overhang. It wants to go, both gates want to go open when you open one. So I'm trying to decide if I should take the top sections off on these 2 and shave down the bottom, probably by like 1/4 of an inch, just so I have a little bit more of a gap. I don't want to move the whole thing up because I do like the height that it's at right now. But I'm just trying to decide how much I don't want them to be touching. But in any case, once I get the latches on, then the next thing I need to do for these stalls is decide if I want to paint. I still do, I just don't know if I'm going to have time, and I'm not going to get a paint sprayer before I need this project to be done. So I need to figure out how bad I want to paint this. And if I do want to paint it, I'm going to be doing it with a roller and a paintbrush. So I should have done this a long time ago. I know I needed to do it, but I bought a lead paint test kit because as you can see on this wall, some of this paint is peeling and I don't know what year it was put in. So I don't know if it's actually lead paint. If it is lead paint, that's going to be a big issue. And I won't end up messing with it right now, but I'm hoping it's not lead-based paint, and I will sand it down a bit so I've got a smoother surface, and there's a bunch of cobwebs and stuff on the walls. I need to get all that off before I could paint anyway. So that's probably going to be my next project after I finish this last gate. Because I won't get to the hardware store at least until tomorrow for latches. And so I can work on this last gate today and then plan on going to the hardware store tomorrow And then I need to figure out if I'm going to start painting or not, because I will need to leave myself time to let each coat dry. And I don't want to paint this weekend either, because we're supposed to be really cold here on Saturday. I think our high is, I think it was 25, and we're supposed to get down to like 12 degrees. So that's not a great day to be painting. But next week we're supposed to be in the 50s, and in fact, one of the days is supposed to get up to 59 degrees. So next week would be a really good week for me to be painting. So it got so warm that our barn bees came out. So we've got these bees that are making a hive in our barn, and they come through the front door here. So here I am zoomed up looking at the bees. They're pretty cute. Okay, so now I've got my plywood cut for this gate, and what I did, I'm not sure if you can see it, there's a little indent here. So this indent is accounting for these cinder blocks, and so it came up 17 inches, but there's a big bolt here, so I put another inch, so it came up 18 inches, and then it went out 5 inches. So I'm gonna have it attached to my divider of this thicker this barn wood that was 2-inch wide. So I've got the divider for that, and it's a nice piece of lumber. It's probably 4 inches, 2x4. So I'm going to attach the hinges right to this, and it's going to swing inward this way. So I need it to attach here to this corner, but I had to make the indent so I would go all the way to the ground and not hit the cinder block. So I am going to, I have a feeling that I probably made it in a 1/2 inch too high, because I'm going to put 1/2 inch of a gap between the gate and this board that I've mounted to the concrete so it doesn't hit. I'm rethinking, I might want to come up a little bit higher than that, because I am coming into the stall, which means I need to account for the room of having hay or bedding. So I might leave a little bit more of a gap, maybe a couple more inches. I don't want it too big in case I put an animal small in here, and I've left too big of a gap where they can sneak through. So like if I had chicks or something, I wouldn't want to leave too much room where they can come through. But I don't want to leave too little room and then have issues every time I open the gate where I can't get it open because I'm hitting bedding. And it's really not a lot of bedding that would be in here before I start hitting it, because I only right now have it 2 inches off the ground. I really don't want to put a board on the bottom and then have the gate, because then would be mounting that board into these cinder blocks, and I really just I want to avoid that. So gosh, I might rethink taking a little bit of the height off that gate so it's still flush with this 4-foot divider. I still want it 4 feet, but I might take some off the bottom. I have to think about that for a minute. I hadn't really thought about it till I started talking. But I hate to get it all mounted and done and then not have it be enough. You know, a couple weeks down the road, I'm regretting not lifting it up too high, or not lifting it up high enough. I think maybe having it just a couple of inches, maybe two 2 inches will be enough. I think 3 inches is probably going to be too high. It only really matters if I've got like chicks or something in here, which I could always put them over there. That's a little bit tighter, and the gates swing the right way, and I did the dividing Dutch gates in there for that purpose. So maybe I don't need to worry about that as much on this gate, because I'm more likely to have goats or cows or maybe sheep down the road in here. So a couple inches either way is not going to be the end of the world. I also don't want to get to the point where I've got bedding going into my milking area, but a couple inches of bedding is not really a lot, especially if I'm going to have animals in here in winter. I like a nice deep bedding because it keeps them warmer. I think I probably will go 4 inches. Okay, so that means I need to take 4 inches off of this. Is going to be the top. So I will do that. I'm glad I thought of it as I was explaining it there, because I hadn't thought about that initially. And I think I probably would have kicked myself if I had not done that. So I'm going to do one more cut and take 4 inches. I am taking it off the wrong side. I don't want it off the top. I want it off the bottom. What's that expression? Measure twice, cut once. This is the only plywood I've got. I think this is my last sheet. That's the right size, so I don't want to mess this up. Okay, so I need the 4 inches off the bottom. It's so easy to do stuff like that too. Taking it off the wrong side, you just don't really think about it. You got, you're in your head, or you'll measure and then you'll say, "Oh, I don't need to write it down. I got it." And 16 becomes 15, or 18 becomes 16. And then you cut the wrong thing, and then you're wishing you hadn't cut it. Try and find a different piece, and a lot of the time you don't just have extras laying around. Okay, so I think that's right. So I'm gonna get this measured and cut, and then I'm actually going to, I might just put it on the hinges now and then do the trim after I already have it mounted, just because I want to make sure that this is the right size that I need before I do all of the trim and then mount it. I think it will just be easier to put it on the hinges first, because I'm kind of working with some awkward angles where it's not just level like these other ones. How do I say this? I've got a weird angle here, so when I do the trim, I'm either going to need to 90 degree it on the corners, or I'm just going to move the trim out just a little bit to leave myself a little bit of room. And same thing with this corner. I might do the trim a little different. So it's just going to be easier for me to visualize it if I've already got it up. Let me work on that. Okay, so I've got that cut. This week when I was working on changing blades out on the circular saw, I had tried to also take off the blade for my compound miter saw, but I wasn't able to get that off, so I'm going to have to go back at some point when I've got a little bit more time and really figure out how to get that off. I really hate to lose the machine, and if I can't get it off, I'll try to take it to someone who knows more than I do about it and could take it off for me. But some of these tools that I'm using were my dad's, and my dad passed away, will be 9 years ago in April. And I really enjoy using his tools while I'm working on projects like this. It makes me feel closer to him. He, as a hobby, was a woodworker. And he made a lot of things, like he made a couple of really nice armoires. I have a bed set he made for me when I was a teenager. He made my parents' kitchen cabinets. He made an island for the kitchen. He just did a lot of projects, and he really enjoyed woodworking. So I do feel like especially when I was younger, in most ways, probably took after my mom. But I feel like I'm starting to see more of my dad as I'm getting older. He also loved his routine, and I really thrive in a routine. But, this woodworking stuff, I really do wish I had had him more as an adult. He died 3 weeks after my 26th birthday, so I never really got him as an adult. And I just feel like he would have enjoyed stuff like this. It's one thing to think about him being here working on projects with me, but he can't be. And so it's nice being able to at least work with some of his tools. I still have his shop belt, like his tool belt. And when my sister and I were little kids, he bought us child-sized tool belts. And I have his and I have mine. And I'm gonna hang them up in the shop when I get the shop set up. But I've got a lot of his stuff. And a lot of it came from the shop. So it's nice to have some things of his around. It just makes me miss him, but it makes me feel like he's still here. In part, his tools are still working. I really hope to be able to keep these as long as I can. I'm going to be getting a couple more things from his shop probably this year. My mom still has his radio that he had in his shop. I'm gonna get that, and there he has got like a couple little of like screw and nail organizers that I want. I thought they were really cool. So just things like that. I did not take all of his equipment. There are some of the woodworking things he used to do, like making furniture. I don't anticipate that I will ever do things like that. I'm happy just doing like barn projects like this, but he was really good at kind of the finishing touches, and that's not really my thing. So there were things like he had big table saws and like the big long clamps. He had a couple like routers, sanding belts, all of it. So I didn't take everything, but I was able to take some things, and especially with me living across the country from where they had lived now, I would never have been able to take everything, but I am glad that I got some things. Okay, so here is the gate mounted with the hinges, and it fits perfect. I really like how it turned out. So I actually do think I'm going to take it off the hinge now and do the trim on the front. So I don't know, just so I can lay it on the table. And I also realized that because it's just the plywood with the screws in from the hinges, it sticks out here. So when I add the trim, it's going to be very hard. Well, if I added the trim while it was still on the hinges, it's going to be very hard to get around that. I would have to go unscrew the hinge from the back, like individually as I'm going along, and it will just be easier. So you can see the two on the bottom down there. It will just be easier to remount it, and I'll still be able to see the holes on the back anyway when I put it back up. So it'll be easy enough to figure out where I'm supposed to be going. So, but I do really like how that turned out. You can see it from the other side here. There we go. And it's just enough clearance on this corner that it won't be an issue. So then this last gate for the Dutch door ones, I ran into the same thing with this beam. So this beam is not square. And so I had a smaller gap at the bottom than I had at the top. So for this top section, I ended up using these hooks. So there's one here on the outside, and then there's one on the inside. So that's what opens the top portion. And that's fine. I really don't think anything will be able to flip these latches from the inside. And if it does, that's why I put one on the inside and one on the outside, so that it will still have a latch on the outside, even if an animal does knock that off. And then, so the bottom has one latch like that on the top, and then it's got this style latch on the bottom. So that's what opens that. So today what I'm going to do, it's already in the afternoon. So today is Monday, February 26th. It's already 3 o'clock. I had some other things to do this afternoon, so I'm not going to get a lot of time to spend in the barn today. But I'm going to do some general cleanup today. I don't have the latches I need yet to finish the last door and a half. But I'm going to move some of this scrap wood. I'm not anticipating I'll need this for the milking stanchion. And I'm going to put on my mask when I sweep. So if I'm just doing a little bit of sweeping in the barn, and I know I'm not going to be spending time in that area after that, like for the next couple of hours, I generally don't wear a mask. It wouldn't hurt me to start putting on a mask. But if I'm going to be doing a good amount of sweeping, especially this is a confined space, I'm going to put my mask on, because it's going to take me longer to sweep here than if I were just to sweep quickly and kick up a bit of dust and then immediately leave. This is probably going to take me at least an hour to sweep, and then I will probably come back with my shop vac and do a vacuum in here. And I know that there's dust in here that's not just from like the sawdust from me sawing. I know that the windows need a good dusting, and I'm not comfortable with what's in that dust to be kicking it up and breathing it in. I will wear a mask for that. Okay, so I'm going to get you guys set up on a time lapse, and I'm going to get to cleaning and moving some wood around back out into the barn. All right, so today I am going to be sanding some of the walls and maybe a little bit of the ceiling to get ready for painting. So yesterday when I was sweeping, I also did a paint test to see if the paint had lead in it, just because I wasn't sure what year that this was painted, and it is chipping significantly. So I just wanted to be safe before I start sanding it down or repainting or scrubbing with it too much, but it is not lead paint, so I'm good to go for that. So I can get going on prepping this room to be painted. I did not buy a paint sprayer, and it's not going to work out to do that before I have goats kidding, but I do want to do some painting, so I'm not going to get every nook and cranny, but I will try to get most of the painting done, or at least as much as I can. So I will probably I would really love this coral color to be gone first before the light green in the back. But it might work out better if I sand down the wall in the back where the stalls are and do that first. And then a lot of the coral is in better shape than the green. So I could pretty much do the coral color at any time without prepping. So I might just sand first, do a coat of paint back there, and while I'm waiting for that to dry, I might work on the coral. And then just kind of flip-flop back and forth, depending on how much time I have, because I still also need to work on the milking stanchion. The stalls, though, are done. So I just haven't put any bedding or anything in there yet. Excuse me. Or done things like set up the hay feeders and the water because I knew I wanted to paint in there, so I didn't want to get it set up and just be, walking through a bunch of hay to paint. But I'm not going to be painting the cinder blocks on the bottom. I don't mind how those look, and I just kind of expect that maybe the goats will kind of try to eat at it, and I don't think it's going to adhere as well to the walls that are already painted. I might be mistaken about that. I've never painted cinder blocks before, but I'm just not going to paint them. So if I want to paint it later, I can always paint it later, but I'm not going to worry about that right now. So I'm going to get going sanding. I'm not going to do too much, and I'm not going to do different levels of the grit on the sander. I'm just going to use whatever I have, and I've got a bunch of sanding discs. These are grit 40. Oh, I'm not going to use that. That's grit 220. I'm not going to go down that fine. 220. Okay, so I've got some 40 grits. So if you don't know with sanding, there's different sanding sheets you can do, and the more abrasive and less refined the grit, the lower the number. So these are 40 and they're really rough, but these are really smooth and the grit is a lot finer. These are 220. So this is like, you do layers. So if I wanted to do like a woodworking project and I needed a nice smooth surface, I would start with 40 and progressively get higher until I don't know if I've actually seen any. I don't think I own anything above a 220. I'm not sure to what number they make it, but I'm not going to be doing 220 in this room. That's not worth it for me. I'm just going to be doing 40s. I'm just trying to rough off the peeling paint and kind of get back to a smoother surface. So just going to do these. I've got my little handheld sander. I am obviously going to be wearing a mask for this. I'll go get my safety goggles, especially when I'm doing the ceiling. These are pretty wide glasses, but they don't protect for everything, and I don't need paint falling into my eyes. So I will definitely wear my safety glasses for that. And I've got a little extra bag on this, but my little sanding bag down here doesn't, or the dust bag down here doesn't work as well as it used to. So I usually get dust coming out the sides. So I put this bag over it to try to help. But like this sanding disc has the holes on the bottom. My 40s don't, so I'm gonna get extra dust probably coming out the side. This one, oh, this is so rough I can't even see it anymore. I bet this was a 220. Excuse me. So I'm gonna get going on that. It's Tuesday, the 20, I think we're on the 27th. Yeah, it's the 27th, I think. I've got a week and a half left, so a couple more projects left, and then I hope to get the goats in here. Really excited for that. All right, here we go. Okay, so my hair is probably a mess and I'm probably all dusty, but sanding is going pretty good. A lot came off the ceiling, which I'm not surprised about, but feeling pretty good about how it's coming along. More came off than I was anticipating, but I'm not too worried, and it didn't take me too long. Of course I could do more, but that's not really the goal for this project. So you can see now I've got a bunch to clean up. There's paint chips all over the ground. A lot of it was this white on this section, but not a lot came off for the green section. So I had already swept once, but I've got my shop vac, and so while I'm masked up, I'm gonna get that out and try to vacuum a lot of this up. Okay, so I took a little break, got cleaned up. I did have a lot of paint in my hair. Feel very dusty and gritty. I don't really like that feeling, but no sense in getting all cleaned up when I'm just gonna keep working. So I got my painting supplies, and now I'm gonna get going on painting. I got my roller, so I'm gonna try to get as much of the rolling done as I can today. It's not gonna be all of it, but then I can see what I need to use the brush for, and then hopefully be ready to do a second coat tomorrow. So let's get to it. All right, everyone, that's going to be it for me today. It's been a long week of sanding and painting, but hopefully next time we can get going on the milk stanchion. Thanks for joining me, and this is the last you'll be seeing of the coral color.